recoil damage from the moves after you use them.
Jumping right into top 8B here at Indianapolis, we're going to have the Frost Lasting Corviknight from Michael Zhang. Evan Scott is going to have the Glamora and the Whimsicott. So eating our words immediately, Whimsicott and Glamora making an immediate appearance. And notably, we have the Frostlass for Michael, which means it's likely going to Mega Evolve. We talked about some Pokemon that are great without Mega Evolving. Unfortunately, Frostlass is not one of them.
No, Frostlass, I mean, if you wanted to, I guess you're going to try to get the Cursed Body to activate and get rid of a move for your opponent's side, but there's a low chance of that happening, and it's a little bit better when you get that extra boost to your speed and your special attack. Whimsicott's going to set the Tailwind, though, so that means Glamora gets to zoom its way into the first turn of this game as Power Gem just barely misses out on the knockout into this Frostlass. It means that Frostlass is free and clear to go for a Blizzard. It's going to bring this Whimsicott down quite low, but not low enough to be able to KO it. Corviknight's going to match that Tailwind, and so we're kind of back to square one.
No knockout with that Blizzard into Whimsicott. That's either a relatively weak Frostlass or a very bulky Whimsicott. It does not have that Focus Sash that is on the Glamora, the Fairy Feather instead. It is that bold stat alignment, so likely is just trained to be very, very bulky. Does hang on there, but I don't know if you love that if you're Evan. You might have wanted Whimsicott to go down there so you could swap into something that has a little bit better of an offensive matchup here. We saw that first Blizzard do 79 damage to Glamora. With the way those damage rolls work, another Blizzard could just take 2 knockouts on this turn.
Yeah, I mean, you had the Prankster Tailwind to let the Glamora outspeed the Frostlass, but I feel like now that you've also neutralized the Tailwinds by setting one of your own with the Corviknight, should be able to let this Frostlass do some good work here. So I say Sui and Arcanine, not super afraid. Okay, you could attack with the Glamora, but then I'll probably knock you out. As Whimsicott tries to go for the Encore into the Corviknight as well to try to lock it into going for Tailwind. It will not do that, but the Weather Ball actually goes into the Glamora to miss out on the KO. That is one of the unique adaptations to Michael Zhang's Frostlass in particular, that it does actually have Weather Ball as that 4th move instead of something like Aurora Veil.
I love that play from Michael there. Going for Weather Ball means you're not knocking out Whimsicott on this turn. Whimsicott now kind of continues to be dead weight for Evan. Bit of a momentum sink in that slot after getting Tailwind up. But by swapping Arcanine in here, you are threatening the extreme speed to knock out Whimsicott before it can potentially lock your Frostlass into Weather Ball with Encore. Then you can continue to threaten with either the Blizzards or the Weather Balls. Notably, Weather Ball will be a little bit stronger than Blizzard with that single target damage, because Blizzard is slightly stronger naturally, but with that damage reduction, it's a little bit lower.
And now that the Whimsicott's out of here, then that doesn't matter at all. So could just rip the Blizzard if you want to from here. Weather Ball, though, is going to be the move of choice, guarantees the knockout onto the Glamora, in case something else had actually switched in to take that Whimsicott's place and keep that Blizzard as spread. But that's going to be a 2 Pokemon advantage for Michael Zhang in this first game, as we see Frostlass matched here by Evan Scott, and the Corviknight also almost looking in a mirror.
2 very juicy Flare Blitz targets for that Hisuian Arcanine. Again, does have the Rock Head ability with the Focus Sash item. So if it does use Flare Blitz, it will not take any recoil and will be able to threaten a big knockout into either Frostlass or Corviknight.
Really important to note that these Frostlass also have different stat alignments. Evans is going to be modest, giving it a boost to its special attack, while Michael's actually is timid, so you likely think it should be faster across the way.
Would be shocked if Michael's wasn't the faster of the 2 Frostlass. A big Shadow Ball and Flare Blitz could threaten 2 knockouts here. Let's see if Evan can weather that storm.
You got the Aurora Veil to try to soften some of the blows, but it's going to be the opposing Frostlass just using the Blizzard first. That's still a lot of damage into the opposing Corviknight, despite the fact that it's going to be resistant. Oh no! The Corviknight gets frozen solid. That is going to make it a nice target for this Arcanine. Arcanine still was going to be faster no matter what in this situation, likely, just because it's naturally a faster Pokemon, but still, that's a big knockout here, and...
It thought out! Speaking of things being faster, though, that Arcanine was faster than Evan's Frostlass. The Tailwinds are matched. There was no difference in speed control there. So that Arcanine with the Jolly stat alignment doing a lot of work for Michael there. That is actually huge information. Michael now knows that his Arcanine can potentially just outspeed and one-hit KO that Frostlass with a Head Smash later on in this match.
Right now, it should be a locked up done deal with a double up of a Flare Blitz and a Shadow Ball. The Tailwinds have both expired. still, they were both active, so you know what. Neutralized speeds across the board. But yeah, Frostlass going for the Shadow Ball here, and if that's not enough to pick up the knockout, then the Arcanine knows what job is up next. But Michael Zhang takes game 1 of this top 8 set.
Really well played there. I really loved the use of Weather Ball from that Mega Frostlass, not giving the Whimsicott the opportunity to get knocked out, make better use of that Tailwind that it set up, and also not open the door for any Encore to mess up any of Michael's game plans. Smartly using Weather Ball to make up the damage when Blizzard may not have knocked out that Glamora.
Extreme Speed from Arcanine also showing off that it's got a couple of other nice tools in the kit. Even though we've put a lot of emphasis on the Rocket ability, making sure you're not taking recoil from the more powerful moves of Head Smash and Flare Blitz, Extreme Speed does give you that increased priority option to get around that Whimsicott, that pesky Whimsicott.
Freeze there as well. We're going to see another Frostlass freezing Corviknight. Luckily for Evan, ended up being completely inconsequential here. But again, this Arcanine is going to be huge for Michael. Knowing that it is faster than Frostlass, which typically you would not expect to see, is really big info for both of these trainers.
I'm still giggling at the fact that the Corviknight thawed out while it got knocked out. Hey, look, at least the game is keeping the Corviknight honest. Let's get into it, though. Game number 2. Can Evan Scott bring himself back into this one with a win so we can go to a game 3? Or will Michael Zhang punch his ticket into the semifinals? Let's see if the Frostlass and Arcanine can get the job done, or if Evan will be able to get some more work with this Frostlass and Whimsicott.
I really love this lead from Michael, especially knowing that you have the Arcanine faster than Frostlass. This Frostlass for Michael protects Arcanine from what really the only thing that threatens it, which is that Garchomp. A Blizzard would easily be able to knock out Garchomp, allowing the Arcanine to take some free swings here. And we have the Whimsicott and Frostlass, both weak to that Flare Blitz. Neither wants to take a Head Smash either. This Arcanine is poised to do another big bit of damage on this first turn.
The biggest problem, though, is you do have one way around the natural speed advantage that Michael has, and that's with just the Whimsicott setting the Tailwind. We already saw that it was able to take one Blizzard in that first game, so maybe it's able to hang on through this. Whimsicott decides, though, I really don't want to catch the smoke or the pause of this Hisuian Arcanine. And it's just going to be a double protect here to scout out what Michael has actually locked into. This also gives Evan an advantage here to maybe get a good encore into one of these Pokemon as you see the Flare Blitz and the Blizzard come out. I don't know if you want to encore into one of those.
I mean, potentially if Michael tries to catch Evan being cute and goes for, or no, there's no Aurora Veil yet. I was going to say you could potentially try and encore that Aurora Veil. But I think just having the threat of encore, you make Michael reconsider what he's doing on this turn. It just adds at least one more variable to what is otherwise a pretty straightforward option.
It's going to be the Mega Evolution for Evan's Frostlass on this second turn, and so look at them. So regal. As Whimsicott goes for the Tailwind to ensure that Evan's Frostlass can do something in this turn before getting knocked out. And the Frostlass opts to go for Shadow Ball. Maybe he will be able to get the KO, but it doesn't! It just barely misses it out, even though this modest Frostlass knew that it had one job. The Blizzard in response doesn't knock out the Whimsicott, a damage rule that we saw in that first game play out favorably here for Evan. But a freeze! This team cannot catch a break. I don't know what Michael's feeding that Frostlass, but I want to know. And Evans is going to get knocked out in return from the Flare Blitz.
Another freeze from the Blizzards. I think if you're looking for a team to use after this tournament ends, know that these Mega Frostlass have been doing really well
Jake,
with the freezes.
Don't put that on the ladder.
This one's certainly more consequential than the Corviknight in the first game because now Whimsicott doesn't have the option to threaten something like an Encore, to protect itself from a potential extreme speed. It does have a chance to thaw, but it is not guaranteed until at least 3 turns have passed, thanks to the new freeze mechanics in Pokemon Champions. Glamora hits the field and is threatening knockout with a Power Gem into Frostlass or big damage with Earth Power, but that Focus Sash is still intact.
Whimsicott does actually thaw out on this turn, so it does fire off a Moonblast to finish off the Frostlass. And that's going to be one Pokemon apiece. Both of the Mega Frostlass taken down for Evan and Michael, as the Power Gem is going to guarantee this Arcanine gets taken down to its Focus Sash. But what does Arcanine do next? There's 2 good targets on the other side for this move, and the Head Smash actually lands into the Glamora. That is a huge amount of damage traded. We are just going blow for blow here in second game.
Yeah, big head smash there. Again, it does not do any recoil thanks to that rock head ability. Does activate toxic debris though, so one layer of toxic spikes spread on Michael's side of the field means that anything that's touching the ground will be poisoned when it comes in. Thankfully for Michael though, Corviknight is immune in a couple ways. Not touching the ground, it is a steel type that can't be poisoned, so nothing just yet. And now this Corviknight again in a really strong spot. You're threatening a knockout with extreme speed into either of Evan's Pokemon. I think you may want to target that Glamora over the Whimsicott because Corviknight has a really, really good time against Whimsicott, and Glamora is kind of the last thing left that can threaten it.
That's actually going to be the Whimsicott, though, for the extreme speed. Maybe worried about something like getting encored into Tailwind if this Corviknight is trying to stagger those turns. But you're going to trade the Arcanine for the Whimsicott as Corviknight is the final Pokemon to move on this turn. We will end up seeing it go for that Tailwind, and so one more turn of Tailwind here for Evan that he gets to actually utilize here before Michael is going to take over the speed control for the rest of the game.
That is a great Tailwind. It means that for this next coming turn, the speeds are equalized. But then after that, there are 2 turns remaining where Michael's team will be faster. We do see the Hydreigon come out for Michael, matching the Corviknight for Evan. Now that this Hydreigon is holding the Choice Scarf, it does have to lock into 1 attack for the remainder of the game. There's only 2 Pokemon remaining for each trainer. But this Hydreigon isn't really being threatened heavily by any attacks here at all, especially with the speed advantage with the Choice Scarf.
Yeah, Dark Pulse is perfect. You also have a chance to flinch this Pokemon if you are so lucky. As Glamora fires off a Sludge Bomb. It's going to be the best option here as you're not going to get the KO quite yet, as Evan's able to weave in a Bulk Up. Corviknight, though, with the Iron Head, finishes off the Glamora with that 1 HP remaining, and it's a 2v1 here as Evan's got to put the rest of these hopes onto the Corviknight.
I do think there's a chance this Corviknight could clutch it out, though. That bulk up means that it's going to take less damage from Michael's Corviknight's attacks, and of course, it boosted the power of Body Press. With the damage that the Hydreigon took from the Sludge Bomb, that might be enough, well not might, it will be enough for Hydreigon to be knocked out by Body Press, and Michael's Corviknight only has resisted attacks into Evans. A combination of that bulk up, the possibility of Roost on Evans, and the leftovers.
There's one thing though, Michael does have 2 different options to flinch this Corviknight with the Iron Head and the Dark Pulse, so you've got the speed advantage, you may as well try to use it and see if you can stop this Corviknight in its tracks, and that is going to be an unsuccessful turn. That's the Body Press to finish off this Choice Scarf Hydreigon, and so Michael just has to figure out how to get through the rest of this HP, but as you called out, there's a lot of different ways that this Corviknight can be the final raid boss that Michael's cannot get through.
You would probably need a couple of flinches, a few critical hits along the way here. Michael knows that. That bulk up came in huge for Evan. Just knowing that Michael's Corviknight is completely unable to threaten Evan's Corviknight with any kind of damage. Great identification of that win condition in the late game.
Great game too, for sure. And I think with the difference that we saw in terms of the leads as well as some of those adjustments, maybe you're thinking if you're Michael, like, oh dude, I really like the Hydreigon coming in the back if it was the Corviknight on the other side.
It also, the decision to extreme speed the Whimsicott there instead of the Glamora made a lot of sense. Knowing that Hydreigon was your final Pokemon, you really don't want to face down that Fairy-type Whimsicott. They cleared the way for that Hydreigon as much as you could. But that one bulk up, and I think importantly, the Sludge Bomb damage from the Glamora is what allowed Hydreigon to be knocked out by that one Body Press. If it had the chance to fire one more Dark Pulse into Evan's Corviknight, I think Michael is able to win that, but just couldn't ignore that Glamora.
Game 3 is going to be the deciding game between Evan Scott and Michael Zhang to see who will move on to the top 4 of the first Pokemon Champions Regional. Let's see what our competitors have brought to this 3rd game as we see the Frostlass and the Corviknight for Michael, and it's going to be the Frostlass and the Whimsicott once again for Evan.
Another opportunity for Michael to match a Tailwind on this first turn. I like this adjustment back to the game 1 lead for Michael. It's what saw him success in that first game, and most importantly, you're threatening a Tailwind, but also really good damage with Iron Head into either target.
Frostlass is not going to waste any time though, as it does Mega Evolve and get ready to pull out all the stops. We'll see if there's a Mega Evolution that is matched here, and there will, so we see 2 Mega Frostlass.
2 Mega Frostlass once again. We've seen Michael survive a very powerful attack both games, whether it be a Power Gem or a Shadow Ball, so it's unlikely that Michael will lose that Frostlass this turn.
Tailwind here for the Whimsicott is going to let Evan's Frostlass move first. Shadow Ball did not get the knockout in that second game, and it will not get it again in the 3rd. So Frostlass here for Michael gets a chance to do some damage. Whimsicott is also going to hang on on again, so really well trained on both parts to survive those super effective hits. But what did this Corviknight do? Tailwind matched, and we'll have to move into this next turn knowing that.
Now, Michael does have the threat of being encored by the Whimsicott. Of course, the Frostlass on Michael's side could potentially get encored into Blizzard, which would prevent Evan's Frostlass from being knocked out. But if you're encoring the Frostlass, you're not encoring the Corviknight.
Frostlass is going to protect itself, so we'll see if Corviknight actually gets to do something here. Whimsicott actually tried to encore the opposing Mega Frostlass. Frostlass for Evan still gets a chance to get some damage down onto this Corviknight, and we've seen some really unfortunate freezes. So we'll see if this Corviknight can break through, and if it loves its trainer enough, and it does. Iron Head finishes off the Whimsicott. That's going to be a free switch here for Evan, but does he like the trade?
I don't know. I think this is probably favorable for Michael, knowing you have the faster Frostlass. You're now threatening Evan's Frostlass with even more damage with either that Shadow Ball or Blizzard. And of course, you're going to be able to break the Focus Sash of this Glamora if you do opt to go for Blizzard. It's going to be tough. Like, do you try to target the Frostlass? It looks like a Shadow Ball from Michael's Frostlass should be able to knock out Evan's. Do you prioritize maybe taking out this Glamora? If you have that Hydreigon in the back, do you want to make sure the Ice type is gone? It's a tough choice here, but I think Michael's in the driver's seat.
You got a great choice of targets on either side, but it depends on what you feel like you need to clear a way to move towards your path to victory. Frostlass protects itself on Evan's side, which is going to mean that this Blizzard still connects into the Glamora. And so will that be a return KO? Glamora, which should be able to get the knockout with any of its moves into the Frostlass, and so it's going to be the Power Gem, the attack of choice. Corviknight, though, if it is going to target into this Glamora, should get a nice knockout trade. It is the Iron Head, but it was going towards the Frostlass.
I think that's a pretty good mid-ground play for Michael there. You know that if the Frostlass doesn't protect itself, you probably get the knockout there. If it does protect itself, you're still getting to break that Focus Sash on Glamora, which is very important. Now this Arcanine comes in. I believe it's... Ooh, I'm missing the speed interaction between Glamora and Arcanine there. But even if the Arcanine attacks after Glamora, it does have that Focus Sash, and we know it's faster than Evan's Frostlass. Michael is now threatening 2 KOs here again.
Yeah, so the Arcanine should be faster. And actually a really nice play from the Blizzard the turn before. It did not make contact with the Glamora, so no toxic spikes to actually break the Focus Sash onto the Hisuian Arcanine. So it's free and clear. It needs to take 2 attacks of attention in order to knock it out. So the Flare Blitz is going to confirm the KO into the Frostlass, and I think this Corviknight knows the next job that it has ahead of it is to get rid of this Glamora. Because Glamora can only do so much into this Arcanine to bring it down to that Focus Sash with Earth Power.
The modest stat alignment on the Glamora comes in handy when you need to deal damage, but unfortunately means it is slower than this Arcanine. And now Corviknight has the chance to respond with an Iron Head. Michael will take a 3-to-1 Pokemon advantage, and Evan is down to just 1.
Well, I mean, I've seen Corviknights do some ridiculous things.
True.
But with this Hisuian Arcanine as an adjustment in this 4th game, I think our 3rd game, excuse me, I'm stuck in round 4. We have, I think, a tough time ahead of this Corviknight.
We still have 1 Pokemon in the back for Michael, and because Corviknight hits the field for Evan and Arcanine is still around, you are going to be able to get a huge Flare Blitz off here. And because of that Rock Head, once again, you have to target that Arcanine with an attack to knock it out. And if you don't target it, it's just going to hit 2 Flare Blitzes and win.
Oh, I might only need 1 here if the Corviknight is able to follow up with anything, either the Brave Bird or the Iron Head. Body Press. Okay, great knockout for the Corviknight, but should be 1 more incoming as the Corviknight for Michael still has yet to move. I think both players know what's going to happen here as Brave Bird for the Corviknight knocks out his counterpart, and Michael Zhang wins this top 8 to move on.